Nancy May is an energy healer, life coach, and fertility guide. She is the creator and Hay House award-winning author of the Energetic Fertility MethodTM, tools for a healthy conception and beyond. She works with clients in group programs, including the Energetic Fertility Method TM 10-week program, and does one-to-one spirit baby readings. With a background in clinical psychology and social science research, her own journey to motherhood led her to discover the important role that energy plays in a woman's fertility. Her focus is on helping women create a positive, enriching, and empowering journey to motherhood by empowering them to have a sense of wholeness within themselves while helping them connect with their future child. Hello everybody, I'm so pleased to have here with me today for a new episode of the Healer Hub podcast, Nancy May. Hey Nancy, how are you?
I am fabulous. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you so much for having me on today.
Yes, I'm so psyched to speak about, well, mostly spirit babies that might surface. So tell us a bit about your journey and how did you come to, well, doing what you are doing?
That's a great question. My fertility journey was really what cracked me open the most. We had a very easy time bringing in our first daughter. Everything was great. And then when she was 1, we planned to have our second child. Got pregnant again right away, thought everything was in alignment. And even the estimated date of arrival of this particular child was the anniversary of my mom's death. My mom had died when I was 10 years old, so I thought this baby was going to really kind of heal my heart in a way that it had been broken when my mom passed. So I go in and have a checkup only to find that the baby was no longer growing. And so I was beyond devastated. I was, it put me into a tailspin, and we could not get pregnant again for the next couple of years. We went to reproductive endocrinologist and they couldn't figure anything out. They said, "You're fine. It's unexplained, secondary infertility." And all of a sudden, one of the acupuncturists I was working with, she said, "Nancy, are you open to a more alternative way of looking at fertility?" And I said, yes. And that was my introduction to the wonderful late Walter McKitchen. He wrote the book, Spirit Babies, How to Communicate with the Child You're Meant to Have. And Walter cracked my world open. I'm this left brain trained scientist, and going in and talking with Walter, I didn't understand what he was talking about, and everything rang true. It felt so right. It felt like coming home, if you will. So with Walter's assistance, I worked with Walter for several years before, during, and after my second daughter arrived. So he did definitely help me so much in bringing in my second daughter. And Walter and I had a lot of conversations about things. Spirit babies is one of them. And then also about what I would do with my life, after bringing in my daughter and things of that nature. And so one of the things he said to me is, "Nancy, you have so much experience working with spirit babies. You could have fun doing that." And at the time, I was just like, okay. And I didn't really think about it. There were many things like that Walter planted seeds. He knew what was I'm convinced he knew what was going to happen later. And he let me take my time to catch up, to really find my flow and to be there. So once Walter passed in 2011, that's when I started working with people professionally and connecting more deeply with spirit babies and teaching people how to do that. I also really am passionate about helping people realize that they are a soul, not just a human body, and that their future child is also a soul. So they're bringing in not just a baby, but a soul. So that's another big part of my evolution, is, yes, the spirit baby stuff. And then a lot of new things keep coming to me that are more around us remembering who we truly are.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I feel that all these questions are emanating. So I will try to focus. Something that struck me, because this is how I discovered you through Walter's book, and something that really struck a chord within me is that I always believed that you are either meant to have children or not. And if you are not meant to have children, you don't have those soul contracts, it's not given, whatever belief you have is not given from God, then you won't have children. But in his book, Walter is saying, well, if you really desire, you can connect to a child and invite them in. So would you be able to speak around this subject?
Absolutely. In my personal and professional experience, I completely agree with what Walter says. Is I don't feel like everything is predestined before we're here. We have a lot of free will, a lot of choices that we get to make as we are here. And one of those is, do we choose to become a parent or not? And if we do, there are ways to call in spirit babies. And I do it all the time with clients, especially if, let's say, there even is a spirit baby already and they're not quite ready to come in. And let's say the family has been trying to conceive for 5 or 10 years or what have you, and they're really ready for a child to come in. Then there is this special, I call it a gate in the spirit baby realm that I go to, and I can open it up and invite more spirit babies in that are interested in this potential family. So absolutely, if you desire to bring in a child and it's really from your heart and not necessarily just from your head, that to me, it makes a big difference. And yes, I truly believe you can call in a child at any time.
Mm. I think fertility is such a tender subject for so many women, probably for men too, but just from my experience with clients and friends. And I think it's very difficult if you don't have the perspective that you hold, and if you don't have this awareness, it's very difficult to accept certain things or to move through the grief of miscarriage, for example, or stillborn. And I would love for you to express your perspective around the challenges on the fertility journey, so that women listening to this can maybe find some solace or more understanding around these subjects.
Thank you for asking this question, because I work with a lot of people who have gone through losses. And that is for many of us, one of the most challenging things that we go through in our lives. Mm-hmm. And I truly feel many times that it's designed that way. Because if you think about it, as a human, when do we really do our deep work? Mm-hmm. When we're in pain, when something really, really hard has happened, when life is going well, we don't dig deep. We don't get into those, those closets that we forgot about in ourselves, where we've stored and locked away things that that are ready to be processed. So from my point of view, I truly believe that sometimes these miscarriages or stillbirth or what have you are predestined. Mm. They're one of the ways that we have given ourselves an opportunity to go deeper into who we truly are, to uncover those places that we may not be delving deep into. Many of us live on the outside and not on the inside. And it's these very heart-wrenching experiences that help us go on the inside. Many of us look for our answers on the outside, even in the fertility journey. Okay, let me do that book. Let me work with that practitioner. Let me do this. Let me do that. Yes, and a lot of the work is inside. So if there's a possibility to see a miscarriage or another form of loss, and I'm going to even throw in abortion. I work with a lot of people who've had terminations as well, that there are a lot of gifts in that experience for you if you so choose to see it that way. It may be challenging to begin with to allow yourself to see it that way, but one at another mentor, I've had two mentors, Walter McKitchen and Michael McCartney. I find it fascinating. They were both men, they were both amazing, and they both passed on. And I remember Michael, I would have conversations with Michael and I'd be like, but I don't understand this. Why is and Michael's like, Nancy, you don't have to like it. You just have to accept it. Because once you accept it, then you're not in resistance. When you're in resistance, like, I can't believe this happened. Why does this stuff happen to me? Oh my gosh, nothing ever works out. That's resistance. That's when your energy gets blocked. For things to really work well in our lives, for us to manifest things that are really in our best and highest good in a beautiful fashion, we need to be in alignment, which means that we want our energy flowing. So if you can see these big roadblocks, if you will, of a loss, a fertility loss, as a way of giving you an opportunity to open up places in you. A lot of it's around the heart, opening up your heart more, becoming more vulnerable towards yourself, trusting yourself more self-love, more worthiness for yourself, more self-confidence. There's a lot of themes that I see over and over again. And I truly believe that those heart experiences are our invitation to discover more about ourselves so we can truly become who we're meant to be.
Yeah, I love this perspective, and also the invitation for acceptance. And I think that a lot of us, kind of throw in the word, and I think that deep in our hearts, we truly would love to be able to accept things. But sometimes it's just so difficult because the ego or the human self struggles. Yeah. And I think for me, it always manifests as a pseudo God complex where I know best. So how dare you overwrite my desire?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I would love to add one thing here that may be helpful for the acceptance. Mm-hmm. I have learned a beautiful tool over the years that helps me to kind of get a better idea of how much permission I'm even giving myself to accept something. Sometimes on the surface level, we'll say, okay, maybe I'll accept it. But on the more subconscious or unconscious levels, we're not giving ourselves permission to even accept it. And I think that speaks to what you're talking about too. So there's a beautiful tool that I love to use. And it's literally, you can see, like, I see a gauge going from 0 to 100%. And you can just ask the gauge. It's best to do when you're kind of in a grounded, centered space. You ask that gauge to show you how much permission you're giving yourself to really be in acceptance. And if it's really high to begin with, clear the gauge, ask your ego or your personality to step aside, and then ask it again so that your intuition can really give you some insights to where you may be inadvertently self-sabotaging. Meaning not giving yourself permission to even be in acceptance. That's a beautiful tool. And if you find, let's say you're giving yourself 40 or 50% permission to be in acceptance, just take that other 50%, ask for assistance, ask for help from the spirit realm if you believe in angels or loved ones you've crossed over, or, God, goddess, whatever the word is, source that you like. Ask them to help to release any of that resistance that's in that 50% or 60% that you're not necessarily able to let yourself accept at the moment. Mm-hmm. That's a fabulous tool. You can do it with a lot of things, but this is a great one in terms of learning how to accept, because once we do, life will flow much more, guaranteed. And the key thing is you don't have to like it. That's the best part for me, because there's so many things that happen in life. You're like, oh, I don't have to like this. I just have to accept it.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Something that I always struggle in sessions, right? Like, so many of us view life through like or dislike. I either want or don't want. And that's that spectrum that is kind of constricting a lot of the possibilities that could unfold for us. Because as you said, there are so many things that maybe with our human mind, with our human like ego, cannot like, but they are still for our higher self. They are still unfolding for our highest good.
Absolutely. And once we understand that, really life is working with us, it can change our perspective. Like everything is always working out for us, everything. And a lot of people may not necessarily agree with that. And a lot of people may agree with that. And my belief is it is always working out for us. Like it's always on our side. The universe is always on our side. It's up to us to accept the gifts, to accept and to do our work, right? To love ourselves more deeply, to feel more worthy about things in our life, to have that self-confidence, to really be vulnerable with ourselves and with trusted others, to speak up for ourselves. There's a lot of things, a lot of beautiful things that can come out of these challenging times.
Yeah. So I'm curious about how do you accompany clients on their fertility journey? So let's say
different ways. Yeah.
I'm curious to make it a bit tangible for people so that they understand, or not understand. I think that sometimes, because it's of the intangible, right, of the spiritual, and it's that dichotomy between I should see a doctor because they know what is good for me and what should work for me, and then a process that is alternative, like seeing somebody like you. So how does it go from a moment where a couple or a person decides to have a consultation with you? How do you accompany them on their fertility journey?
That's a fabulous question because what I do is I really meet people where they're at. If someone is brand new to this work, then I will speak about things in a certain way using certain vocabulary that makes sense to them. And if people are well on their journey and have a belief in connecting with source and the spirit realm and those sorts of things, then we can talk about things in different ways. But my real desire is to help empower people. So whatever it takes to help people realize that they have the power to work through anything, that's really what the bottom line is. So as an example, let's say someone is, very left brain trained. Oh my gosh, I hear this all the time. I've done everything to try and get pregnant, or I've tried so many things. And one of the times when people are open to this type of work is when they feel like they have tried everything else. So it is, again, one of those opportunities, a gift, if you will, to start looking at things from a different point of view and learning who I feel we truly are. And believe me, I did not grow up like this. I had no idea that I was so intuitive until I worked with Walter. I just thought it was normal. So I was well into my 30s before I realized that I had these strong capabilities to really tap into people and to really help them. One of the gifts that I happen to have, I don't know how I have it other than I feel it's just part of the gifts that I've been able to bring in this lifetime. I feel like we all have our own gifts that support humanity. And one of the things that I am able to do is help people get into those subconscious and even unconscious realms that they may not be aware of. And that's one of the things that can be really helpful when talking with people who are still just starting out in this work. Perhaps it's, talking about their future child. I'll use that term instead of spirit baby, especially if they have a male partner with them on the call who is very not into this type of work. Because I do work primarily with women. They tend to be a bit more open. They're usually the ones who are very much, they're the ones who are going to be bringing the babies through. So when someone doesn't have that background in the spirituality, it really is just meeting them where they're at. That's the best way to say it. And presenting things, just like in our conversation today, I'm offering potential perspectives that may be different than what yours are right now. And there's no right or wrong. My invitation to everyone is just to try them on, and try them on in your heart, not your head. Like, come in, you'll see me put my hands on my heart a lot because it helps me anchor in my heart. And it's a much higher vibration than our brain up here. Even Heart Math, the Heart Math Institute, beautiful organization here in California that does a lot of research about how high vibration the heart is. So if anyone wants the science behind it, Heart Math, fabulous. It's HeartMath. So literally heart and then math. And you can find a lot of nice research to help those who are more in that, just starting out, to understand what we're kind of getting at. There's more and more research out there that is helping us to notice that there's much more than what meets the eye. And that's what Walter McKitchen helped me understand, is there's way more happening than what I can see with my ocular vision. In our culture, we're taught if we can't see it, we don't believe it, right? We need the data, we need the evidence. And what's happening now is science is being able to show us that there are things that happen even that we can't see with our ocular vision. So that's like a snippet of what I would do. And again, if someone has training, we can go a lot of places. We can use different terminology. We can go very, very, very deep. And I'm happy to also start off with people who are brand new to this, because that was my entry point. I was brand new to this too.
Yeah. So as somebody who has a background in psychology, as you were talking about the unconscious and the subconscious, I do parts work, right? So in our, I'll say, terminology, yeah, if you want something and that thing is not happening, is because there is an aspect of who you are that is not aligned, right? So maybe consciously I say, oh, I want to have children and get married and live on land. And for years that is not happening, right? So actually, if we were to dig into my subconscious beliefs, the ones that are actually governing my life, you will understand that probably I'm terrified. There are so many aspects, right? So I'm wondering if in your work, are you also uncovering these kind of beliefs or aspects? Are you helping your clients become aware of the fact that maybe their thought pattern or just the contraction might have in their hearts is keeping them from having a baby or having the life that they desire to have?
Absolutely. That's exactly how I do a lot of my work. And I do it from a very intuitive space, because I can close my eyes and tap into someone's energy when they give me permission to do that. Don't worry, I do not walk around the streets trying to read everyone's energy. No way. That would be way too much. I really keep that as a very sacred aspect of things. And so when I'm working with clients and I have their permission to look at their energy, then yes, absolutely, I'll be able to tap into those sorts of things that are there on that subconscious level. I mean, that's so much of the work, because if we don't have the awareness, how can we change anything? You have to have the awareness in order to be able to change things. And it can be really advantageous to have that support of someone else who is able to help you in a very loving way tap into those subconscious arenas. And it could be very much in the mental aspects of things, the way we think, the thought patterns, what comes through our mouth, how we speak. One of the things I'm really big on is, how do we speak to ourselves? And then how do we speak out in the world? And are those aligned? Usually they're not, if you really think about it. So that's something, as an example of something that I might help someone to look at in a certain perspective. Because when we're very kind and loving to ourselves, and what's the first thing you say when you look in the mirror? Mm-hmm. If it's something very loving and kind every time you look in the mirror, fabulous. What I find is that that's typically not the case. So that can even be a place to start practicing this. Oh, wow. Every time I look in the mirror, wow, what do I naturally say to myself? Oh, interesting. And become curious about it, right? Not to condemn ourselves further or anything like that. It's much more about being curious about things and noticing things, and seeing if that's actually in your best and highest good. And I'm all about, looking in that mirror and, saying something really kind to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wish we could bestow the grace that we give other people onto ourselves, but
that's our work.
For many of us. So if somebody becomes curious and they would like to connect with their spirit baby, I know that Walter has a meditation. It's very interesting, right? It's also through the connection with the heart. What would you say that would be like the first steps in the direction of creating that channel of communication with their spirit baby or babies?
So the way that I love to talk about this, because I am a scientist by trade, I love social science, and that's what I thought I'd be doing for the rest of my life. I like to make things pretty efficient. And so if this works for you, great. First thing is you really want to be grounded and embodied. You really want to make sure that your energy is in your body. So many of us are walking around with our energy not fully in our bodies. And what I like to say around that is, if you're not in your body, who is? You're grounded when you're not, well, here, let me say it this way. You're ungrounded when you feel anxious, when you feel overwhelmed, if you feel depressed. Those sorts of things will tell you that you are ungrounded. Feeling grounded, you feel centered, you feel more peaceful, you feel more relaxed. A couple of simple ways to do that is, wherever you are right now, feel where the bottom of your feet are. Just put your attention there. And just make the intention to connect with the earth. Even if you're on the 15th floor or the 50th floor of a building right now, just even make that intention. All of us can visualize something out in nature, like putting our feet in the sand or feet in the grass, or, even, looking at a tree. We can all imagine that. So imagine being, connected to nature, to the earth, through the bottom of your feet. And then also feel where the backs of your legs are. Those are a couple of things that are really quick that can help pull you back into your body. So you want to be grounded before you're trying to connect with the spirit baby realm. The spirit baby realm, I talk about it kind of like TV channels or radio stations. Imagine we're down here. We're in a very dense field. The frequency is down here. Spirit baby land up here. We can't just go from here and expect to reach spirit baby land. It helps us to kind of do our work to get up there. And that work is being grounded, more centered. That will raise our vibration. And then coming into your heart. You may close your eyes. You may put your hands on your heart. You may take a deep cleansing breath, even in and out of your heart. Just even imagine breathing in and out of your heart. That will help you to get used to what it feels like to be in your heart space. And those of us who are kinesthetic, who learn through movement or learn through doing things, that's me for sure. So I love to put my hands on my heart to help me anchor in there. So you want to be grounded and you want to be in your heart. And then from there, without grasping and without expectation, you ask in a very loving way to, questions of your spirit baby, or you say, hello, I'm so excited to talk to you today. I would love for you to come in. If you have any signs for me, please bring them to my way, bring them in my dreams or what have you. Understanding that the spirit babies are not going to have a verbal dialogue like you and I are having. I think that's a place where people get stuck but I'm not getting anything, because they're expecting a verbal dialogue like what we have. That is not the way the spirit world speaks to us. So by the time you're grounded and in your heart, you've made your way up here. And the spirit babies are going to come down and make their way. So you find a happy medium, like a channel in between, a bandwidth in between where they usually reside and where we usually reside. So some of the ways that spirit babies can communicate with us, remember, they're very creative. It might be a felt sense in our body. We may get tingly. We may have warmth in our hands or in our heart or somewhere else in our body. We may all of a sudden just get this sense like, oh my gosh, I feel like someone's right next to me or sitting on my lap. It may be in our dreams. It may be someone else having a dream about us with a child. It may be through a poem. It may be us all of a sudden just starting to sing some song lyrics. And we're like, where did those come from? That could be a message from your spirit baby. Or walking into a store somewhere and all of a sudden they have a song playing and it catches your attention. That could also be your spirit baby. Could be a butterfly. Could be through a certain type of animal. I remember there was a client and it was a red cardinal that came to her. That was her sign from her spirit baby. And remember, it doesn't have to just be like the red cardinal, the bird. There are in the US, there are, sports teams, the Cardinals, right? So it can be really creative in how your spirit baby communicates with you. It could be an advertisement on the side of a bus. Anything that it may be a sign that you've driven by hundreds of times and never noticed, and then all of a sudden it catches your eye. That's your spirit baby getting your attention. Could be an email that lands in your inbox. You're like, why am I getting an email about, whatever, they're going to this particular practitioner? I don't even know who this person is. Or it catches an email that you would normally just delete, and all of a sudden you just open it. Those sorts of things are your spirit baby bringing you messages. It will not be a verbal dialogue like you and I are having. That, I think, is really helpful for people to understand. It's much more creative. It's much, some of us may hear actually even like a high-pitched noise or sound in our ear. That is another way that spirit babies can get our attention, just letting us know that they're around. As long as you don't have tinnitus or something like that, like ringing in the ears, it's like a high-pitched tone. It's part of clairaudience, and that is one of the ways the spirit babies can just say, yep, I'm around. So there's so many ways for the spirit babies to come to us, and that's just a few ideas. So be open to the beautiful synchronicities, the signs that your spirit baby may be bringing you. Where a lot of people get tripped up is they'll get like a first instinct and then their mind goes in, like fraction of a second later. What? I must be making this up. That can be, there's no way I'm connecting. Or whatever we tell ourselves. It's that fraction of a second. That's the truth. That's the real truth before our analytical mind taps in. Start looking at that very first kind of, oh, wow, I think I felt a warmth in my heart right there. Oh, that's interesting. Or, wow, I swear I just heard something. That's so fascinating. Before your mind can go down its journey of, oh, there's no way. Become curious.
And can spirit babies reach out without you first grounding yourself and connecting with them through the heart?
All the time. All the time. The thing is, they're around a lot. Most of us we're not tapped in enough to be able to receive those messages because we are on such a different wavelength typically. When we're tapped in more, meaning, what do I mean by that? That's kind of more grounded, more in our bodies, not overwhelmed, not anxious, but peaceful. It may be in the shower. Where do I get a lot of kind of downloads from the spirit realm? I'm in the shower. I'm taking a hike in nature. I'm in my car. I'm just, for me personally, I'm even just walking around my house. I could be doing the dishes. So yes, these messages can come in, and but if you want to initiate, then I really encourage you to have a practice to get yourself very centered before trying to communicate with them.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I would like to know about the soul contracts. Yeah, so do you adhere to this perspective that we have soul contracts with our parents? Yeah, and how some spirit babies bring the parents together because the spirit baby wants to come to incarnate. So they need these two parents to come together so that they can get into form.
Yes. So the way I like to talk about this is, imagine this particular place that we go to even before we come in, if you will. I call it a lives between lives portal. This place where we can communicate with people that we will likely meet this lifetime, like a partner. And that the spirit baby meets us there too. And that's where we go through these contracts, if you will. Like, oh, okay, when I'm about 35, I'll meet you and then we'll fall in love. And then, okay, and here's your spirit baby. And the spirit baby is going to be the one to actually help us get together. Absolutely. The soul contracts are, I feel, very, very real. And I call it a birth contract when a baby's coming through. And there are a lot of things that can go into a birth contract. Some things, where are you living? Sometimes the spirit baby wants you to be in another location than you're actually in. Might be in the same town or city that you're currently in, but just a different home. Could be another state or province, could be another country. Lots of those sorts of things can actually play into whether a spirit baby comes in or not, because that's part of the contract. And again, we have free will. We may have a desire to move somewhere, but we're like, oh no, it just makes more sense for me to be here. And I just bought a house here, or whatever it is. We talk ourselves out of this a lot. We may listen to our guidance a little bit, and then that's when that analytical mind comes in and wants to keep us safe rather than kind of listening to our heart more and more. So the birth contracts, absolutely. And I will also say, we have birth contracts with our birth parents and if anyone's adopted, you'd actually have contracts with your adoptive parents as well. And so there's different ways to work with these different types of contracts. And it can actually be useful for us to do some work around our own birth contracts before bringing in a child, especially if you've been on the journey for a long time. And those are the sorts of things that I can help with. If I know someone's done a lot of work already, then we'll delve into those sorts of things to see if there's anything on your side with your own lineage that may be helpful to clear up before bringing in a child.
It's so interesting because my mind is, I'm going to share now with you what is what is organ. So I am the product of a missed or of an abortion when gone wrong. So my mom did try to have an abortion, right? And for years, I couldn't understand so many things. And the moment where I learned this, and through the grace of God, even if I was quite young, since that moment, a lot of things started falling into place because I understood that, the triangle of me and my parents, like it kind of downloaded in not instantaneously. I was 12 and my mom finally told me because I was pressing for questions, but little by little, the pieces came together for me to understand how it all played out. So it's really interesting that it fits into what you just said.
Sometimes we imagine that, our souls want to learn. That's why we're here. We are creative by nature, and our souls want different experiences. And imagine wanting to sign up before you get here, we're in that in-between stage, like the spirit baby world. And you want to sign up for, let's say, on a scale from 1 to 10, you want a level 10 forgiveness experience. And this, so we sign up, we may not know exactly what we're getting into, but we're like, yeah, I'm ready for that level 10 forgiveness experience. I know that's going to be great for my soul. And that could be, as an example, something like you're talking about. If you understand that concept, or you're open to that idea of, oh, wow, I must have signed up for a really high level forgiveness experience this lifetime. And that must be why, wow, it's been a hard entry into this lifetime, or whatever it might be, or there's been trauma or something like that. Let me tell you, I chose a lot of high level stuff this lifetime. I did not skate through life. I came in from the get go and was really here. I signed up to help shift a lot of patterns. And it took many decades for me to realize that. And now that I realize it, I approach my life in a very different fashion. If something challenging comes up, it's like, all right, this is my gift. I am here to really help my soul grow on a higher level. I used to fight it. I used to resist it. And that's why I'm so grateful to Michael McCartney, my mentor, who was like, just accept it, Nance. You don't have to love it. You don't have to like it. Just accept it. So that's, a way that I would describe that, and give people, again, another perspective on how to look at these sorts of things.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, because I feel that it's very much linked, for me, it was very much linked to this victimhood mindset. And I feel that a lot of people interact with life from that space of, oh, everything is happening to me, for me, whereas what you are offering as a perspective is shifting your attention from, oh, this is happening to me, to, oh, this is happening for me.
Exactly. And that's it. And once we, even for the fleeting times when we can get to that part, like, oh, wow, this is actually happening for me. This is a gift. What if I see this from that perspective? What if I give myself permission to see it from that perspective? And you may have either people in your family or your friend group who are helping you stay in that victim role. And just, again, becoming curious. Like, interesting. Oh, I can see how it's easy for me to stay in this role. Look at how they say things. Oh, yeah, that's so hard. Or, they were wrong, or, whatever. It's like a fight against that. When you're trying to fight against something, you're stuck. And that's that resistance. And that's that victim aspect. Yeah. Because if blaming, shaming, and complaining equal victim mode. I don't remember where exactly I heard that, but I love, love, love that. Blaming, shaming, and complaining. Whether we're blaming ourselves or someone else, or shaming ourselves or someone else, or we're complaining, like looking in the mirror and complaining, just as an example, because we talked about that earlier, the complaining about ourselves or someone else, that is all an indication that we're still in victim mode. And once we have that awareness and start becoming curious about how we're speaking to ourselves, how we're speaking to others, what our thoughts are that are going through our mind, then it's easier for us to start shifting. Oh, this is my gift. There I go again. And, I'll catch myself doing something every single day. And I just start laughing. I'm smiling and laughing a lot because it brings me joy. It feels so much better than being angry and upset. And even this morning, I was kind of in like this little funk. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. And I was really curious, and I sat with it like, oh, okay. It's another aspect of me. It's another gift, another opportunity for me to speak up for myself with a family member. And so I'm going to have a conversation. I already planned this out. I've already talked to the family member. I said, can we get together later today and talk about this? And we are. So I was able to realize that, oh, there's something off here. Like, I don't feel in alignment. And what is that? And I got curious about it. I didn't try and push it away. I didn't try and say, and get angry with myself about feeling off. Because I did. I felt angry. Like, what was this about? And I took inspired action to help remedy what was going on. Those are the things that we can do when we get more curious and give ourselves the permission to make some changes. One of the things that really keeps people stuck is we have a ceiling over our heads. We put it there. It's like, nope, I'm not meant to grow. Nope, I don't deserve that. Nope, I can't do that. I've tried everything. We've already stopped ourselves because we've just told ourselves nothing's going to change inadvertently, right? We don't, of course, we want to change and we want things better, but we have inadvertently, through our thoughts, through our words, through our actions, put a ceiling there. So that's where that permission gauge comes in. How much permission am I giving myself to make my next step in my own personal growth? As an example, you can change the wording, move the ceiling up, and you may actually get to a point where you don't even need a ceiling anymore. I want to say this too, because this happens to me all the time. I do a lot of my own work. I'm working on my stuff constantly because I know the more that I work on my stuff, the easier and better I can work with other people, the clearer I am to be able to bring information through for other people. When we are growing, it's like a rubber band. And when we are doing the growth part, we're stretching out that rubber band. What does a rubber band naturally want to do? Come back and constrict. So know that when you are in these growth spurts, you're going to go out, you're going to go back. You're going to go out, you're going to go back. So when you feel like, oh, but I was working so hard and everything was going great, and now I feel like I've been slammed back down, it just means you're exercising this rubber band. And keep going, keep stretching it, because what happens when you continuously stretch out the rubber band, it's either going to break or it's going to get it won't be as tight, right? You'll be able to hold it out here more and more. That to me is a wonderful analogy to remind me that, okay, yeah, there are going to be those times like this morning for me where, oh, wow, you go back in and, okay, just stretch it back out. So there's always things we can do. Always things. When you come back in, just notice. Give yourself lots of love, lots of compassion. Say kind things to yourself. I'm so big on every single day saying many kind things to myself. And for everyone who's listening to this, I really invite you to say at least 3 kind things to yourself each day and 3 things that you appreciate about yourself each day.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting exercise.
It's a great one. It will help you raise your vibration and get up here closer to where the spirit babies are.
Yeah. As you're talking about this, what I found to be helpful for me, I have moments where I am, Victoria. So I suffer at points from road rage, right? I'm like, oh my God. And the next one, I'm like, oh, here I am getting angry again at something that was very futile. And, so it's very beautiful to kind of see this dichotomy of like really embodying that angry moment. And then, oh, that really wasn't that important.
And that's the curiosity. That's exactly it. It's building that awareness because that the anger needs to come out somewhere. And ideally we do it in a very safe manner, right? And it's not about stuffing it down. It's about allowing it to surface in a certain way and then bringing the love in. The reason the anger is coming forward is it's wanting more light. It's wanting more love. And it's all about the integration. Because if we just push the anger aside and we don't allow it any limelight, any love, we're never going to integrate those aspects of us. And that's really what all of everything we've been talking about today is about. It's about the integration, becoming aware of these things in us that have been put aside, that we have stuffed down, and allowing them to come up to be filled with love. Again, you don't have to like it. You don't have to like it. Please know that. It's so helpful for me. and shine it with a beautiful light. Maybe it's a golden light. Maybe it's a beautiful, pearlescent white light. Maybe it's a beautiful energy of love. Whatever it is, it's in that genre. You want to shine that energy on these emotions that are coming up, these feelings. And that's what's going to, the other part is really breathing through it. Then you can really help with that integration. It is about the integration.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
For curiosity when challenging feelings arise, and yeah, the invitation to integrate the aspects that are not yet in alignment.
It's key.
Yes. I'm curious about your biggest life dream at this moment in your life.
My biggest life dream, that's a great one. I have just discovered that I really, really, really love traveling. And over the last about 12 months, I have been to probably at least 6 different countries, and just intuitively being guided to these places to learn about different cultures, to learn more about myself. So that's been like a huge passion of mine recently, and like part of my dream is I do feel like all these places I'm being called to, if you will, I will be writing some books on it, and I feel like it's going to be bringing out more of these concepts of who we truly are in a very accessible way for people. So that's really my dream right now, is to help people remember who they truly are.
And what do you find most soothing in your work?
Most soothing in my work?
Rewarding.
Oh, rewarding. If there was a little delay in the sound. The most rewarding in my work is when people get those aha moments. They see where they've been stuck, and when someone has their babies in their arm.
Mm-hmm.
And the baby, when I get pictures of someone holding their baby, that just like, I mean, it just happened this week. And a client, she had a definitely a up and down fertility journey. And she just had her baby just earlier this month.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it is so wonderful to see like someone's eyes just open up, like they get it. Oh my gosh, I've never seen that connection before, or I didn't realize that about myself, or oh wow, now I get it. Those are the sorts of things that really light me up in this work.
I love it. Thank you so much, Nancy. It was such a pleasure to have you on. Where can we find you online?
You're so welcome, and thank you so much for having me. The best place to find me is at my website, so nancymay.com, NANCYMAE.com. We're also on social media, and you can sign up for our newsletters. We get a lot of cool things that come through our newsletters, and would love to connect with people who are interested in this type of work and who feel a resonance.
Yeah. So everything, all the links are going to be integrated in the notes of the show. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
I really invite people to do something joyful today. Really believe in yourself. Really, I would love for you to, if you take one thing away from this conversation, is really understand that things are all working out in your favor. And when you can start even part of the time shifting to that perspective, your whole life is going to change. Oh, and I just want to also say I'm sending everyone love and appreciation, and wanting you to know that I acknowledge you as a soul, and that you are here on your own personal journey, and that you've got this.
Thank
You
you.
have the power to really, really, really take hold of your life, and I'm rooting for you.
Thank you. Thank you for these kind words. And thank you everybody for tuning in.
Thank you.
The best way to support the Healer Hub podcast is to review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and share it with your people. Thank you so much. Deeply grateful for your support.